and welcome back to the Give and Go. I'm your co-host Reynoso here with my boy
Soltero. What's up, y'all?
La Copa Sudamericana is what is up, folks. The Copa Sudamericana is here in full effect as the round of 16 is now in play, and we're here to talk about the results, about the matchups in the quarterfinals. And to preface all of this, the expert on the tournament this time around is Soltero.
Yes, sir.
As I was focused on the Copa Libertadores. So I'm here to actually ask some questions about what happened, but then also give you my opinion because I watched two games. And I'll give you my thoughts on those. But
let's do it.
Brother, what has been going on in the Copa Sudamericana?
I want to start off with a game that just ended. Cruziero hosting Boca. And if you saw this game, I mean, you're probably going to agree with me. This is the fastest red card I've ever seen in my entire life. I've never seen. I've been watching football for over a decade, day in, day out, and I've never seen a red card be brandished faster than Luis Advíncula's on the. It was a really rash challenge, but Roldan brandishes the red within 5 seconds.
I thought it was a yellow. I can understand red, but I also agree. This is the fastest red card I've seen in a game of this magnitude. Because sure, we've seen this shit like in Sunday League football or something. But in a game of this magnitude, Boca, bro, playing like this,
that's the thing.
Up a goal going into this game, that red card I did think was harsh, but I also do understand it. I'm just like, when I saw it, I was like, more so questioning whether if he was going to give a yellow or just let it go. But then when I saw the red, you heard it from the crowd. Yeah. Everyone was surprised and ultimately defined this game.
Yeah, it really did, because afterwards, the next 20 minutes was just Cruzeiro. They got 2 goals. They go forward. But honestly, the game ends up going to penalties, right? Yeah. But it's because Boca finished the game stronger. They actually created more meaningful chances over the course of the 90 minutes, even though they were down a man the entire time. And it's Miguel Merentiel who misses the penalty at the very end. And I hope I never get to know the feeling of missing a penalty in front of 60,000 people.
Oh, man.
I hope I never know that feeling, because my goodness, what a moment. Super depressing for Boca, for Merentiel, and pure ecstasy for Cruzeiro.
Yes. Yeah, no, Merentiel was too hard on himself, man.
He was.
I wish I could be there to tell him, like, bro, you're good, man. The fact that you guys pushed as a unit to penalties, to push this to penalties, being down an entire man in Brazil, by the way, I thought was so impressive. And you're right, Boca found a way to neutralize Cruzeiro in this game. Just to point out, because this is my first time watching Cruzeiro this season, 2 names that stood out to me. Juan Dineno, ex-Pumas, is playing here, starting up top, and paired up alongside him, Lautaro Diaz, who I last saw play in the same tournament with Independiente del Valle for Ecuador, I believe, when they lifted the trophy. Cool to see him now with Cruzeiro trying to do the same thing here and ultimately progressing through to the next stage. So that just stood out to me, seeing Cruzeiro for the first time and seeing some names that I recognize. And Casio, who won the Club World Cup with, I think, Sao Paulo, or something bullshit like that. Corinthians, that's who it was.
41 years old Casio, who was with Corinthians for over a decade, is in his first year with Cruzeiro this year. It's like when Casillas went to Porto for a little bit. Yeah, kind of. But another notable name. I'm glad you listed those 3 players out, bro, because they stood up to me as well. But another player, Mateus Pereira, and if that name sounds familiar, it's because he popped off in the championship with West Brom a couple years ago. And instead of making a move to the Prem, he went to Al Hilal. Couple years, he made his bank in Saudi Arabia, I guess, and now he's back in Brazil with Cruzeiro. But overall, I'm actually pretty disappointed with Cruzeiro's overall performance, man. Like, for 60 minutes, they were unsure of themselves. They didn't know how to approach the game, even though they were up a man in front of their beautiful home crowd. And the first leg wasn't impressive either. Boca dominated that match when it was 11v11. So realistically, Boca probably should have won this match.
Boca win this, and this lands on Advíncula, man. Yeah. On Advíncula for just making a rash decision and ultimately getting punished for it. That's the tough part as a Boca fan, and honestly kind of disappointing because Boca's a big team. Yeah. You would have looked at this tournament and seen them and would have predicted they make it deep into this tournament, knocked out now in this phase of the tournament. So Boca is gone. Cruzeiro moves on. I agree with your analysis, though. Not very impressed with what I saw from Cruzeiro when you compare it to other performances in this tournament.
Exactly. The crazy thing, though, is that Cruzeiro might see themselves in the semifinal, because let's go over to the fixture of the team that they'll end up facing. It was Libertad, Paraguayan team, against Sportivo Ameliano. That was the team that I recognized a couple weeks ago that have only been playing top flight football for 3 years ever. This is it. This is their third season ever in the top flight of Paraguay. And they had an insane opportunity to go to the quarterfinals of the Copa Sudamericana. And what's crazy is that they got incredibly close. It came down to one penalty shot. It was just one.
Really?
If the player from Ameliano had made it, they would have qualified. But he ended up skying it. He skied it, bro. The keeper didn't even have to block it.
I didn't watch the game. All I saw, though, was the results. And I saw that Libertad started the shootout by missing as well.
Yeah.
Man, it was there then. It could have been there. It could have been had.
The thing is, this duel between Libertad and Ameliano was a scrap fest, man. Both legs in the Estadio Defensores del Chaco, both of the games were in that same stadium in Paraguay, oddly enough.
They only used like 3 of them, apparently.
That's the thing. Yeah. Paraguay's just too small. The stadiums are too small to be used for CONMEBOL standards, so there's only like 3 stadiums that they ever use. But yeah, definitely just a couple notes here. Paraguay definitely have the least cool atmospheres out of all of South America so far, man. At least that I've seen over the last couple of years, because both games were just empty, man. It's tough. Maybe they show out more if Olympia's in the Copa Libertadores or something like that. But when it comes to Sudamericana action, Paraguayans do not give a fuck, bro. They really don't care. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. I can see that.
It's tough. Maybe they'll show it when Cruziero come into town. But both legs were so similar. It was just scrap. Okay. Libertad had a lot of the ball in the first leg, but they didn't create anything. Nothing. And Ameliano got a really scrappy goal. That game ended 1-1. And the second leg ends 0-0. But the first half, I thought Libertad had more chances, but they were all just genuinely half chances. And then in the second half, actually, Ameliano had a couple of decent half chances that they maybe could have put away. They didn't. The game, in my opinion, rightfully went to penalties. But yes, again, Ameliano got so close to a quarterfinal appearance, which would have been crazy considering how small this club is.
And, there's that what if of how could they have beaten this Brazilian team, Cruzeiro, now that we've seen them play. There could have been a shot there, man. It would have been a crazy run.
That's the thing.
Yeah, would have been a crazy run.
Realistically, you look at all of the other teams in this bracket. Cruzeiro's probably the weakest Brazilian team. And, well, Libertad or Ameliano are probably the weakest team left. So this is actually a really good moment for Libertad, because I do think they'll be able to get some sort of result in Paraguay. Maybe they lose only by 1 goal, or maybe they get a shock draw. I think the difference when that game comes is it's going to be the game in Brazil. I think that's where Libertad they'll just have no chance. I think the atmosphere is going to be too big. Libertad's offense is very wasteful. It's not creative whatsoever. So I think Cruzeiro, even though I don't really see them as a good team, when they have players like Dineno, Lautaro Diaz, Pereira, I think those will be the difference makers against a smaller team in Libertad.
Fair enough. So Cruzeiro to the semis then.
Cruzeiro to the semis. But just to end on Libertad, there's a couple of players I want to highlight here, because there's some crazy names
that's
here.
How South America works, man. It's crazy.
41-year-old goalkeeper Martin Silva. He stands out because if you do recognize his name, he was at the 2010, 2014, and 2018 World Cup for Uruguay.
For Uruguay?
As backup.
Really?
Every time.
To Muslera?
To Muslera.
Muslera's backup.
Every time. So he's like the GOAT of Uruguayan backup
goalkeepers. Why is the Uruguayan Terstegen then?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that is
crazy.
Exactly it.
That's crazy. Never got his moment with the team.
Never.
But was just there in case something happened.
Exactly.
And now Rochette took over, so he never got his opportunity. He's too old now.
Damn, dude. It's crazy.
Damn shame.
And then what's even crazier, that's goalkeeper. It makes sense.
Okay.
There's a 41-year-old striker, Oscar Tacuara Cardoso, who missed the penalty against Spain in 2010 World Cup. That's him.
Oh, really?
Paraguay, Spain.
Wow.
He was the guy who missed the penalty that at the time could have taken Paraguay up 1-0 against Spain.
Still going.
He's still going. It's crazy.
Let it go, bro.
I know, man. And
come on,
what even boggled my mind even more, he was the leading goal scorer in Paraguay last season.
That's not good.
That can't happen.
That can't happen,
That
bro.
can't happen,
That can't
man.
happen, man. That's a bad sign for Paraguayan football right there. But still, props to him for balling out at that age. I always respect that, but still, man, that's ridiculous.
As as a striker, like once you're past 36, 37, you usually just hang up your boots.
Yes.
Like for him to still be going, I'm worried for him when he retires because what is he going to do with his life?
No, that and he's working like it's necessary type shit. Like something must be happening at home. Like he's got bills to pay, debts to make up. That's why he's working his ass off at 41, bro. Yeah. At this point, I'm interested to see when does he actually hang up the boots. I mean, bro, maybe he does it with the trophy, a Copa Sudamericana under his belt. Maybe that's what he's chasing, is that glory.
Libertad were good 5 years ago. They were very, very good 5 years ago. But this version of Libertad, they're not going to cut it. I have Cruziero going to the semis.
Fair enough. Let me ask you a question, because I'm looking at results in this tournament. What happened to Huachipato, bro? What happened, man? Because the Pato let in 8 goals, dude.
Yeah.
8 over 2 legs. Explain that one to me.
It was an absolute party in Argentina, Buenos Aires, at the Estadio Presidente Perón, the home of Racing Club. I was so impressed with the performance that the Argentinians put in against the Chileans, dude. It's almost as if before the game happened, before the whistle started the match, Racing as a team met with each other and like, look, guys, Huachipato, not that good. They're fighting relegation in Chile right now. They shouldn't be here. Let's make them regret that they're even at this stage. And not only that, let's put on a show for the fans because it was a beautiful crowd as well. Packed stadium, so loud, one of the most classic Argentine atmospheres you can imagine. And the players completely took to that because what the performance that they put on was ridiculous. It was clinical. There was flair. It was so entertaining. It was like seeing the Globetrotters play, man.
Damn.
It was honestly one of the funnest games I've seen in a long time because Racing Club absolutely dismantled Huachipato. They dismantled them, bro. It was ridiculous, but it was gorgeous to see for Racing. Gorgeous.
So how much of it is Racing balling out versus Huachipato just being trash?
It's both. So let's start with Racing. So Racing, I think, have the best offensive line in the Sudamericana. So here's why. Left winger, Colombian winger Johan Carbonero. He's pure pace.
Yes, I've seen him.
And he's so fast, but why he's really, really good, and he's completely impressed me in these last 2 games, he has a really high IQ. He's not just pace. Once he gets into the final third, he actually looks to pass, whether it's off of the overlap or he sees an incoming midfielder, an incoming striker. So he's a really good passer, an insane dribbler off of his speed, but he also will take shots on goal. So he's super deadly when he's isolated. Then you have striker Adrián Martínez, who's probably the best poacher in the Sudamericana. He just can sniff out a moment perfectly in the box. He's a fox in the box, and he's got a pretty good finish on him as well. If Adrián Martínez isn't playing well, you have Roger Martínez, ex-America, in reserve.
That's a name right there.
It's a hell of a name, bro.
Wow.
To come on if you need him. What's crazy is that he doesn't play because Adrián Martínez is just a lot better. And then on the right-hand side, it's a mixture of 2 players. It's either Juan Fernando Quintero, that's right, the Juan Fer Quintero, the attacking midfielder of Colombia. He's on this team. Or it's Maxi Salas, who's a really hard-working winger, ex-Necaxa.
Okay.
So if you're a Necaxa fan. So that front 3 is incredibly deadly. And then it doesn't end there. There's a midfielder, 21 or he's 22 years of age. He's a Racing Club product. He actually got a goal, a really good goal against Huachipato, but he's also just instrumental in how Racing plays. His name is Baltasar Rodriguez. Really young, but what really stands out about this guy is he's just so smart on the ball. He has a maturity to the way that he plays. He's not afraid to dribble, penetrate when there's space in the midfield, but he also does the hard work. What the European coaches love, tracking back every single possession, making sure that there's not an easy moment for the opponent. So he really does it all. He's not necessarily box to box, but he effectively becomes box to box just because he's relentless on his runs, either defensively or offensively. So it all combines to create a really good offense for Racing. And then defensively, bro, they're solid.
Okay.
They're incredibly solid. So this was just coming for Huachipato. And yes, Huachipato were really poor, but to score 6 8 on aggregate. That's a lot, bro. That's a lot. So I really do want to credit Racing's offense here because I think there's a really good chance for Racing to do something special this year.
Okay, I like that. No, I like that. Argentine teams are showing up then to this tournament. Thank you for clarifying that to me. You're telling me they have a better offensive line, though, than Pikachu, Pochettino, Lopez, and whoever's up top, Lucero, I think, for Fortaleza? Do you think that's better than what we saw from... Because that's the only other game I saw was Fortaleza against Rosario Central in Fortaleza Stadium, where Fortaleza went off, and more specifically, my boy Pikachu went off with, I believe, a goal and assist in this game to win 3-1. Were they as impressive as Racing Club ultimately in this game?
This one's a lot harder to analyze, to compare to Racing, because Rosario Central, even though they lost this series against Fortaleza, they had 3 perfect halves. 3 perfect halves of football. The game was pretty much 1-1 the entire time until the second half of the second leg. That's when things started to break down. That's when Rosario's defense just couldn't handle the pressure anymore. And this is where I want to credit Fortaleza's offense, not because it was dynamic, but because it was resilient, because it was patient. And I don't think they have as much flair, not just in the way that they play, but also in their player personnel as Racing. But what I will say, the patience that they showed against Rosario is that of a championship winning side. I think the top 2 sides remaining in the Sudamericana definitely are Racing and Fortaleza. So I would say you're accurate in your assessment of Fortaleza, because for me, they're right on par with Racing. It's Fortaleza and Racing for me.
Rosario's a formidable opponent.
They were
man.
tough,
with the team that they had. I was looking at the players. They made it really tough for Fortaleza, defending champions in this tournament, but they come through. I think that ultimately does kind of align with what I was thinking based off of what I saw. Fortaleza has to be one of the better options here to lift the trophy. But Racing, I need to watch some Racing football. Then.
Yeah, they're fun.
I need to watch it. And it'll be exciting because they face off against Athletico Paranaense, who defeated Belgrano today with a 4-1 aggregate score, winning 2-0 today. What's your take on Athletico Paranaense and what you've seen from them?
Yeah, so this second leg was all in favor for Athletico Belgrano to take it, actually.
They were at home.
They were at home in front of a gorgeous crowd in Cordoba, by the way. And I just want to add on to that. The crowds in Argentina, man. Oh, my God. The home game for Rosario, the home game for Lanus, we'll get to that. I already talked about Racing, and now this one in Belgrano. Amazing, dude. Seriously. The passion, you can just see it through the television screen. I can't imagine actually being there. That'd be dope to go to a game one day. But for Belgrano, they were at home in front of their beautiful crowd. And there was a red card in the 20th minute against Paranaense.
What?
A red. So they had 70 minutes to just get 1 goal to tie it. 1 goal. And they did absolutely nothing with it. Nothing, bro. And then Nothing. They didn't even have a shot on goal.
Bruh.
It was pathetic.
Wow.
It sucks because their buildup was great, but once the ball got into the final third, they had no clue what to do. So they just don't have attackers. They don't have difference makers. They have good midfielders. They have good defenders, kind of. But their front line is just very, very poor.
I'm seeing
it sucks for Belgrano because there's a lot good there, but there's a lot bad. And it really showed up today. And the goal that they conceded that put this one out of reach for them was just one of the worst center back mistakes. The ball, it's a long ball from the goalkeeper, and the center back lets it bounce. It goes over his head onto an oncoming striker.
Oh, no.
And then the striker takes care of it. He says, thank you very much. And then Paranaense go up 2 goals.
Okay.
So it was just, it was a disaster class from Belgrano, even though it was all in their favor for it to not be.
Yeah.
So it was very disappointing. And for Paranaense, I'm not really convinced with this team. They're kind of like, I get Cruziero vibes from them. They have good players, right? Tomás Cuello, an Argentinian. He's a good winger, if you will. He's good. Fernandinho, right? With all the experience that he brings in the midfield, it's great. On the other side, you have Agustín Canovio, right? You know him,
I like him
for Uruguay. But as a unit, as an offensive team collective, Paranaense, they're sloppy, man. They're sloppy. It's not there. Like Canovio, He's out of form. I think Cuello's out of form. Like, you can see the intent, but all their touches are heavy. Okay. They can't make any good dribble penetrations, and they can't. Once they get to the final third, they can't make more than 3 passes. It's really sloppy from Paranaense. So the names are there, but the form is not. The form's not there.
They're missing Victor Roque. I mean, he was scoring a lot of goals for them.
Probably. But, I mean, the striker, honestly, not memorable whatsoever for me. So, like, the Paranaense will be good defensively. Like, for example, if you have to play Paranaense, it'll be tough to crack them, but you won't have to worry about their offense because it's pretty predictable. Okay. To play Paranaense, especially if you are Racing. It's not going to be easy, obviously. It's Brazil-Argentina. It's going to be scrappy, but Racing is definitively the better team going into this tie.
Where is Paranaense then? Because I did a rankings 1 to 8 of Copa Libertadores teams going into the next phase. I'd like to kind of figure yours out. Are they better than Cruziero and Libertad, or do they fall kind of in between that or at the very end? Where do you rank this Paranaense team out of the last remaining 8?
I would rank them better than Cruzeiro because Cruzeiro's defense is suspect. Mm-hmm. It's super suspect. Paranaense's defense is their strong suit. Okay. They're going to be fine defensively. It's their offense that has struggled. And I don't think it'll be any easier against Racing. And I back Racing's difference makers like Carbonero, like Quintero, like Martinez to get them the result over the course of the 2 legs. That's why I do it. If Paranaense had better attackers, or if Canovio was in form and Cuello was in form, it'd be a lot. I would actually give Paranaense the edge, but their offense is just not working. Okay. It's not working, bro.
And that's the strength. You mentioned the Argentine crowds, and you quickly mentioned Lanus. Let's go over to that game, Lanus, where they faced off against last year's runners-up of the Copa Sudamericana, who lost to Fortaleza, LDU de Quito, I believe Ecuadorian side. Lanus coming out on top 5-2 on aggregate with a 3-1 victory yesterday at home. Tell me about them. Are they worth considering as a contender?
No, I wouldn't say as a contender. Maybe dark horse, but it's going to be tough for Lanus to consider themselves as true finalists or as true champions of this tournament. They're good, but Quito's defense was really bad, man. And their game management was terrible. Quito don't have a midfield. Their only point of attack was on the wings. So once Lanus figured that out, they pretty much dominated both games. And it was actually the first time Quito lost a game at home in the Sudamericana. In a knockout
Quito
stage.
Lost a game at home in the Sudamericana.
Against an Argentine team.
Okay.
So I think that, which was in the first leg, and that showed me everything that Quito don't have what it takes. Yeah. And Lanus took care of business in the second leg. Lanus are good. They have one player, Marcelino Moreno. He's actually very crafty. He's very quick off the dribble. He's got a lot of flair to his play. He's very fun to watch. The rest of the team is very supportive in that, right? They're good defensively. They scrap in the midfield, and they try to find Moreno in really opportune situations. Outside of him, though, there's not much else for Lanus. I think Lanus is kind of like Rosario Central, right? Very good defensively. Not a lot offensively, but it's enough. They play good football.
I'm seeing from Marcelino Moreno 9 goals, 9 assists in 33 matches for Lanus this season. Nice. Really good. Yeah. Had 3 years at Atlanta United, where he put up some good numbers, and then he started his career at Lanus as well. Spent 1 year at Coritiba, I believe is how you say it, in Brazil, and then he went over back to Lanus. So he's a baller.
Yeah, he's a baller.
He's to be a baller. 29 years old. He's in the peak of his career right now. Yeah. It sounds like the responsibility that's given to him is a big one, though. So we'll see what he can do in the quarterfinals against the winner of Palestino or Independiente Medellín, which ended up being Medellín, winning 6-2 on aggregate. Palestino just didn't have it then.
Yeah, this one was weird because Palestino played great in the first game, and they were basically 2 minutes away from winning that first leg. Varela, the center back, stole a goal. You'll understand that if you go watch the highlights. He stole a goal, thus getting in Medellín a
that
draw.
Crazy,
it's crazy, bro. He stole it, bro. It was ridiculous. And so, Medellín ended up getting a whole-ass draw in Chile. Wow. But I thought Palestino would come out the same way, and the way that they were in the first game was very sturdy defensively and then just resilient offensively. Okay. Nothing crazy offensively, but it's enough against Medellín. But no, the Palestino just didn't show up. They just didn't. I was actually very disappointed. This result more so is that Palestino had a terrible game than it was Medellín winning 4-0.
Okay, so then where would you put Medellín going into the quarterfinals if, it sounds like there's a big gap between like the top 2-3 teams and then the rest, bro.
Yeah.
They're in that rest area?
They're in the rest area, man. Like, I will say a positive for El Dim is their offense is incredibly chaotic. So they have a player, Leon Muñiz. He has so much speed like Carbonero, but the difference is he's a terrible dribbler and a terrible passer. So he's just all speed, right? Which can be annoying for center backs, but to trust him to score against...
Damn, South American Mudryk, bro.
It's worse, bro. It's worse, man. It's worse. To ask him to score against Lanus over 2 legs, it's just not going to happen, man. It's just not going to happen. It'll be fun to watch, though, because Medellín create chaos. They're really good at it. Their midfielders aren't there to hold the ball and have possession. They're there to have dynamic moments. So it's pure offense from Medellín. It's fun to watch, but you need to have tactics, I think, to beat Lanus. I think you need to be clinical against Lanus. Medellín aren't that.
Damn. Okay. And so the last game to review here of the round of 16, I believe, is Corinthians going up against Red Bull Bragantino, an all-Brazilian matchup that ends in penalties with Corinthians coming out on top. What happened here? What happened?
This game was this was crazy. This was the craziest penalty shootout I've seen in a while. So Bragantino going to the last penalty. If they score, they go through.
Okay.
They score, they go through.
Yes.
Block. Hugo Souza in goal for Corinthians gets big.
Damn.
He gets big in front of his home crowd too, by the way.
Damn.
In Brazil at the Estadio Neoquímica, he gets a crazy block. So we go into sudden death, right? Corinthians have the first kick. Player misses it. So now Bragantino have another chance. They score, they win, right?
Yeah.
Hugo Souza, block. Block. 2 blocks in a row. 2. It's crazy.
That's insane.
Corinthians player goes up, still sudden death, right? Scores. All right. Bragantino now needs to score, not to win, but to just tie it again, just to keep it alive. Hugo Souza, block. 3 blocks in a row.
Blocks?
In a row.
They weren't misses. They weren't
blocks.
Oh, that's rare.
Rare.
That's rare. That's Diogo Costa Euros
Exactly.
type shit, man.
Exactly.
We haven't seen that in a long time, dude.
3 in a row to end the penalty shootout, and he basically won them. That's the only reason why Corinthians won was because of Hugo Souza.
Oh, 100%.
That's it.
100%.
It's crazy.
What a crazy moment. Corinthians goes through with that drama behind them, and now they set off to face off in another all-Brazilian matchup. What's your last takeaway on Bragantino then? What was up with them then? Were they going to make a run in this tournament? Had they won in penalties? Just something on them before we move on to the quarterfinal predictions.
No, I see Bragantino actually very similar to Corinthians, which I think makes sense that this game went to penalties. So in both games, they were basically exact copies of each other. In the first leg, Corinthians had a really good first half. Thales Magno went off, which
He's on here?
He's in Corinthians. He's
Wow.
he's on loan from New York.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
Is he playing well this season? I can see.
He just got there like 2 months ago.
Oh, okay.
So
Summer
he's probably
transfer?
played like 6-7 games.
Okay. I'll look into that.
But he went off in the first leg. He went off.
Yeah.
He got either a goal. He got a goal and then he either got an assist or like a setup assist.
Gotcha.
He went off, absolutely. But in the second half, Bragantino took over. But they couldn't get the comeback completed in the first leg. Second leg, Corinthians go off again in the first half, but in the second half again Bragantino take over, but this time they actually equalized, and so the game goes to penalties. And that's why ultimately, whether it was Bragantino or now that it is Corinthians, they won't beat Fortaleza because their game management is terrible.
Okay.
It's terrible, man. Like, they do have good players, but there are spells throughout their performances where they just let their opponent come at them. They can't hold on to the ball in those moments to alleviate pressure, and their defense isn't that good. I think Rosario Central's defense is better. So if Fortaleza were able to get ultimately 3 goals against Rosario, I think they will find a way to break this Corinthians defense. And I don't trust Corinthians offense to be clinical enough to beat Fortaleza. I just don't.
I think we got to let the folks in on just what the numbers say. Fortaleza second place in the Brazilian league right now, bro.
It surprised me when I saw that.
Surprised me too. And I think that's actually indicative of who's the favorites in both the Sudamericana and I will reveal Copa Libertadores as well with Botafogo in first place. Fortaleza, I think, is a major favorite with the way they played in the league so far, whereas Corinthians, I think, is they're like in the relegation zone or something. They're like really low in the table, bro.
Yes, Corinthians are having a relegation battle, bro. It's crazy. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, so
let's look at the numbers.
You don't even need to analyze it, honestly. If you just look at the table, it speaks for itself. You're absolutely right. But if you see them play, it becomes clear. If Fortaleza don't go to the semis because of Corinthians, it's an absolute disaster.
It's an upset. That's a disaster.
It's a disaster.
Yeah, and then you have Racing Club against Athletico Paranaense. You said you're going Racing Club on that one.
I'm going Racing, but it's going to be, dude, these Argentine Brazils are so crazy, man. Yeah. It's going to be fun, but I am going Racing.
Blue versus red in that one. It'll look really nice on paper. That's going to be a great matchup. But then lastly, we have Lanus, Independiente Medellín. That one you haven't revealed yet. Who do you have going through in that one? I feel like that might be one of the more tight matchups outside the Cruziero Libertad matchup, which also would be tight. Lanus, Medellín, who goes through in your opinion?
I think it just has to be Lanus because I think they just play overall more complete football. Like I said, Medellín are very good at creating chaos offensively, but I think their defense is very suspect, whereas Lanus is just solid all around throughout the entire pitch. You have Marcelino Moreno as the difference maker. I think it'll be enough. Medellín, I think maybe we'll have a chance, but I don't know which leg is in Argentina. I think that's where Lanus is going to get the victory. It's going to be in Argentina, whether it's in the first leg or second leg.
Okay. First leg is Argentina.
Yeah, I trust them to get the result there and then maybe get a draw in Colombia. So I have Lanus going through.
And Cruziero Libertad, you got Cruziero going through?
I do, but it's just because Libertad is not that. They're not that team.
So then I leave it with this for shits and giggles. Who's your pick to win the tournament as of this moment? You got to pick one team. One team.
That's tough because ultimately I need to see Racing play against a tougher team, and we'll get that in the quarters, right? I think either way, it's going to be either Fortaleza or Racing who lifts it. I don't have any other team lifting this trophy. I don't. Now, what's crazy is that if they do win the quarters, they will meet each other in the semis.
Yes, that might be the final, bro.
I think that's basically the final. We've seen this like in the Copa Lib several times where the semis basically the final. I think we're going to see the same thing this year, but this time in the Sudamericana. Right now, I'm going to go Racing just because I think they're like I said, for me, they have the best offense in the Sudamericana. I need to see it against Paranaense, but Fortaleza is going to be fun to watch too. But I'm going Racing right now.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen all the teams playing this tournament, so I haven't seen Racing specifically, but I did see Fortaleza. You know what? Let's go defending champions vibe. Let's see them do it two-time on the Copa Sudamericana. Golden era for Fortaleza, who's also competing for the Brazilian title. I'm going Fortaleza as of this moment. But folks, let us know in the comments down below, what did you think about the round of 16 matchups? Who do you think will win the quarterfinal matchups? And who's your pick to win La Copa Sudamericana? Till next time, guys. Peace.